Alberta's provincial election campaign begins today. Early polling suggests it is a two-party race between Rachel Notley's NDP and the ruling United Conservative Party led by Danielle Smith. Now, Smith is looking for a mandate from Albertans after winning the party leadership back in October. Voters in Alberta head to the polls on Monday, May 29th. And we have in-depth coverage on this story for you. The CBC's Julia Wong is outside the Alberta legislature in Edmonton looking at the broader issues of this campaign. And Aaron Collins, as you can see, is in Calgary focusing on how that city will be a key election battleground. Julia, we'll begin with you. I understand Premier Danielle Smith has a media briefing scheduled in about 3 hours from now. Now, the election call may officially come at that time, but in reality, a shadow campaign has really been happening for quite some time. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, Arthi, both the UCP and NDP have essentially been in campaign mode the last few months. So, for example, over the weekend, we had the UCP and their leader, Danielle Smith, and the NDP and their leader, Rachel Notley, both holding campaign launches, holding campaign rallies in Edmonton and in Calgary, all before the official election call. And even before then, the UCP introduced a budget that was widely seen as a pre-election budget. There was lots of spending, lots of promises, and it was meant to appeal to a wider range of voters. The UCP and their candidates, they have been out and about the last few weeks making announcements, being in front of voters, being in front of cameras, all to stay top of mind. And really, this has been the case since October when, as you mentioned, Danielle Smith became leader of the UCP and became premier. Really, everything since then has been done with this lens of the spring election.
To be a tight race. Can you give us more insight into the two main party leaders and what the key issues of the campaign are likely to be?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because it's very rare for a former premier to want to become premier again, or to try at least, and that is the case for the NDP's Rachel Notley. She was Alberta's premier from 2015 to 2019. Then she lost the election in 2019, but she's running again, vying again for the province's top job, and well, you just don't really see that often. And then you have Danielle Smith, who is most widely known for being the leader of the Wild Rose Party, then crossing over to the PCs. She then lost her seat, became a radio pundit. She was out of politics for many years, and then came back and won the UCP leadership with the support of the party's right-wing base. And since taking office, she's made a series of controversial statements, from saying that the COVID unvaccinated were the most discriminated group that she'd ever seen in her entire lifetime, to a leaked phone recording call with a criminally charged pastor. She's made headlines for probably reasons that she did not want to. So both these women, they have histories, they have political histories, and they have records of what they've said over the last few years, and that is going to be a big factor during this campaign. And the big issues for Albertans, well, one, healthcare. We see that Canadians everywhere are worried about healthcare and access to healthcare. That is the case here in this province. And then you have inflation and the economy, affordability. That is all very top of mind for voters right now. And lastly, leadership. Who is the best leader for Alberta? And also, most importantly, who has the best vision for Alberta moving forward?
A lot to come on this story in the hours and weeks ahead. Thanks for this, Julia. That is the CBC's Julia Wong at the Alberta Legislature in Edmonton. And now we want to set our sights on Calgary. The CBC's Aaron Collins is there. He's outside the McDougall Centre, the key provincial government office in Calgary. Now, it has emerged as a key battleground in this election. Tell us why.
Arti, to answer that question, I mean, Julia did a great job of giving you the history and the social studies behind this election. I got to get a little bit into the electoral math, so give you a sense of the Alberta electoral map. So there's 87 seats in Alberta. How does that break down? You've got basically three areas of focus for these political parties. You've got Edmonton, generally expected to go for the NDP. You've got the rest of the province outside of the two major cities, all the rural ridings, that's 41 seats there, generally expected to be a conservative stronghold, which leaves you with Calgary. Calgary is going to be the deciding factor in this election because you're really typically thought to need there's three sort of legs to the stool, the political stool in this province. You need two of them to win. So if Edmonton's going to go to the NDP and you've got the rural ridings, they're going to go to the UCP, that leaves Calgary. So how did it break down in 2019? 26 seats here, 23 of them went Conservative. So if the NDP are hoping to regain power, they really need to flip that script. So go from winning 3 seats in this city to winning 20, most pundits think they're going to need if they're going to get back in control of the legislature. So a big task, and that's the math, and that's why this city is really the battleground for this election.
So looking at the battleground by the numbers first, now let's talk about the issues, Aaron. What are some of the big ones for Calgarians?
It's an interesting question, and the way you have to look at that, I think, is that this is not a homogeneous city, right? So traditionally we think of Calgary, we think of the city of Lougheed, the city of Ralph Klein. This is an oil and gas city. The towers are all around me right now, and that's why Conservatives did well here. Thought to be kind of the party that supported that industry. But this city is changing. It's rapidly growing, almost 1.4 million people living here now. It's getting more diverse. A lot of people have moved here over the last 20 or 30 years. It's very young. So the demographics are really changing. The economy is diversifying, and you can see that the two leaders, the two parties, are focusing their efforts on those two different areas. The Conservatives will focus on the suburbs, focus on the south of the city, and focus on those oil and gas workers. The NDP are focused more on the inner city, the north, and those new Calgarians and that sort of changing and younger demographic. It's going to be fascinating to see which of those two parties is going to be more successful in the next 28 days.
Thanks for this, Aaron. That is the CBC's Aaron Collins in Calgary.